Krishna. Can everyone hear me? Yes. Okay. Great. Thank you all for coming today. This is such a most beautiful sacred temple. Before we begin, I'm just going to sing Jai Radha Madhava, and then we'll start. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Krishna Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanande. Om Jnana Hirandasya Jnanjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unnitanye Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manirasam Saviranye Bhutale Swaya Bhuta Jadamaya Tadati Swatanandikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Upasadakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sahajatam Sahagana Raghunathanditam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Shakhandikamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpati Gopesha Gopika Kanta Navadvipa Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gauranga Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishwabhanu Sutadevi Pranamami Haripriya Panchatattvatmakam Krishna Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhakta Vataram Bhakta Kyam Mami Bhakta Shaktikam Jagata Guruvascha Kripasamudre Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna everyone, Happy New Year. This is my first time being back at ISKCON PNG for this year. And I'm so grateful to be here at the lotus feet of Sri Sri Dayananda Gaura Hari. I remember a little over 8 years ago when these beautiful deities were installed here. Who was there at the celebration? Nice. That was my first deity installation that I attended. And it was just magnificent, seeing the beautiful lordships being bathed in all kinds of materials and having their Crown Pratishtha ceremony where the life force is invited to reside in the deity. And since then, they have made this whole place sacred. It said in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Vande Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityanando Sahodito, Godadaya Pushpavanto, Chitro Sando Tamodudo. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Shri Krishna Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, who are like the sun and the moon. They have arisen simultaneously on the horizon of Goda to dissipate the darkness of ignorance and thus wonderfully bestow benediction upon all. So it really felt like that we were seeing it happen before our eyes when the deities were installed here. And they have been wonderfully bestowing benediction upon all since then. So who is Lord Chaitanya? Who knows who is Lord Chaitanya? Or who would like to know who is Lord Chaitanya? Lord Chaitanya is the incarnation of Krishna that appeared 500 years ago. So he's on the left. There, if anybody doesn't know if it's anyone's first time. Actually, is it anybody's first time here today? Anyone coming from this? Okay. So Lord Chaitanya on my left is the incarnation of Krishna who appeared 500 years ago to give us the sublime process of chanting the holy names. In every age, there's a different process for self-realization. And for this age of Kali that we're in, the age of quarrel and hypocrisy, it's very difficult to perform the other methods that were in the previous ages. In Satya Yuga, the method of self-realization was meditation for thousands and thousands of years. We cannot do that. We don't even have such a long lifespan. In Treta Yuga, the process for spiritual realization was fire sacrifices. And that was elaborate fire sacrifices, not like the one we do, where everything had to be pure. There had to be tons of liters of ghee, and everything had to be first class. We cannot perform such sacrifices now. And in Dwapar Yuga, the process was deity worship. And that was very opulent deity worship, where there was real gold, real silver, real diamonds, everything was real. And now in Kali Yuga, where our minds are so disturbed, where our lifespans are so short, and where everyone's memory is very small. We can't even remember what we did yesterday. We cannot rely on these processes from the previous ages. So Lord Chaitanya came to mercifully give us the easiest process, which is just by chanting the holy name, the Hare Krishna mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And how do we know that Lord Chaitanya came for this purpose, that we're not being cheated? Well, there's a verse in Srimad Bhagavatam that actually confirms this, speaking about all the different incarnations of Krishna that have come. Krishna Varnam Krisha Krishnam Sango Pangas Travarsadam Yagye Sankirtanam Kare Yajanti Sumyadasaha. This means, in the age of Kali, intelligent persons perform congregational chanting to worship the incarnation of Godhead, who constantly sings the names of Krishna. Although his complexion is not blackish, he is Krishna himself. He is accompanied by his associates, servants, weapons, and confidential companions. So that is who Lord Chaitanya is. The Srimad Bhagavatam has predicted his advent. And Lord Nityananda is his brother, his eternal brother Balaram. And they both come together to give the highest love of Godhead to the people of this age of Kali, the fallen people of this age, who are quarreling, who are hypocrites. They said that the age of Kali is the age of quarrel and hypocrisy. So even though the people of this age are so fallen, Krishna and Balaram have come to give the highest benefit to all of us. So we're very grateful and very fortunate. So we all know Krishna's abode, the place where Krishna lives. Who can tell me, where does Krishna live? Vrindavan, right. So Krishna's abode is Vrindavan, and we know because that's Krishna's abode is very sacred. So in the same way, Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda's abode is Navadvipa, Mayapur Dhama, and it's also very sacred. But Navadvipa is a hidden Dham. The way Lord Chaitanya is a hidden incarnation of Krishna. He's not outright saying that he's an incarnation of God. He comes as a devotee. He's pretending to be a devotee of Krishna to show us how to be a devotee. So he's hidden in that sense. And therefore his dham, his abode, is also a little bit hidden. That Navadvipa, or Mayapur as we know it, has been sacred since time immemorial. It's a holy place that has always existed, but its glory is only just being uncovered after the disappearance of Lord Chaitanya from this world. So today, we're going to speak about Mayapur Dhama, the glories of Mayapur. It's said that Mayapur is not different from Vrindavan. The only difference between these two holy places is the mood. In Vrindavan, the mood is rasa, that sweetness of relationship with Krishna. And in Mayapur, the mood is Audarya, which means magnanimous, munificent, mercy, it's compassion, it's ever expanding, spreading to everyone. So there's this really beautiful book called the Navadvipa Mahatmya, which is written by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who is there on our parampara. He is the father of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who is Srila Prabhupada's guru. So he's the fourth picture, if anyone doesn't know, from the parampara there. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote this book, Navadvipa Mahatmya, in which he's describing Lord Nityananda taking Jiva Goswami on parikrama, on pilgrimage in Navadvipa. So Lord Nityananda, here on the right, he took one of our Goswamis, who's in the frame, if anybody doesn't know, there's 6 Goswamis there in the long frame. One of them is Jiva Goswami. And Lord Nityananda took him on parikrama. You can understand that, right? Like Jiva Goswami goes to Navadvipa and just Lord Nityananda, please take me on parikram. It's like how we sometimes want to go to the Holy Land, but we don't want to go alone. We want some senior elevated person to take us so that they can show us the way. Otherwise, we won't know where we're going. If we try to go to Vrindavan on our own, we won't see anything. And therefore, we go with groups, we go with senior devotees, we go with our spiritual masters so that they can give us the vision of the Holy Land. And it's even said that you cannot buy a ticket to the Holy Land. You cannot buy a ticket to Vrindavan. You cannot buy a ticket to Mayapur. We enter by consciousness. And therefore, when we go with senior devotees, then because of them, our consciousness is in the right place that we can actually enter the spiritual realm. We can enter the holy places. Because sometimes we can be in the holy places, but not actually enter. Like we can physically be there. Our bodies can be there. I know personally, I've been to Vrindavan many times, but my consciousness was not entering. I just bought the ticket and I was there. But when we have the mercy of the senior devotees, of our spiritual masters, of the Lord, then we can enter and have the right consciousness. So Jiva Goswami asked the same question. He begged Lord Nityananda to take him on parikram and reveal Navadvipa to him. So this book, Navadvipa Mahatmya, explains that journey, where they went, in what order, all over Navadvip. And at the beginning of the book, the glories of Navadvip are being described. And there's so many that I just have to read it because it's written so perfectly here. It said, he who lives in Navadvip Dham is very fortunate, for he achieves attraction for Krishna. He who happens to go there becomes freed from all offenses. Imagine, just by, if you happen to go there, like you didn't even intend to go there, but you ended up there, free from all offenses. What one attains by traveling to all the holy places is attained just by remembering Navadvip. So all you have to do is think of Navadvip and you get the benefit of traveling to all the holy places. In this way, the scriptures sing, he who sees Navadvip Dham gets ecstatic love of Krishna birth after birth, just by seeing Navadvip. Even one who goes to Navadvip desiring to gain material comforts through pious activities will not take another birth. So even if our intention is completely wrong and we're going there for material benefits, we'll still get spiritual benefits. The Shastras say that one who walks around Navadvip attains the fruits of millions of Asvamedha Yagyas at every step. So the Asvamedha Yagya we hear in the scriptures, the horse sacrifice that they used to do in the previous ages. And that, you can get that just by taking one step in Navadvip. You get the benefit of millions of those. And one who lives in Navadvip and chants mantras obtains the sound of Chaitanya as his mantra and easily gets free from Maya. What yogis obtain after 10 years at other tirthas, at other holy places, is obtained in 3 nights at Navadvip. So if you stay in Navadvip for 3 nights, you get the benefit of doing sacrifices, penances for 10 years in other holy places. So that is the power of Navadvip Dham. That's the power of Lord Chaitanya and his holy place. The fruits obtained by staying 100 years at the 7 holy cities can be attained by staying 1 night in Navadvip Dham. So if you stay for 100 years at the 7 holy cities, that is Dwarka, Ujjain, Mathura, Ayodhya, Kashi, Kanchi, and Haridwar. Those are the 7 holy cities. If you stay there for 100 years, you get the same benefit by being in Navadvip for 1 night. So even Lord Brahma, who is the creator of our whole universe, is saying, when will I become so fortunate to take birth as a blade of grass in Navadvip Dham? Then I will receive the dust from the feet of the devotees who are engaged in serving the lotus feet of Sri Gauranga. This is the creator of the universe. He's got all the power. And he's saying he wants to be a blade of grass in Navadvip, because that's how sacred it is to be in Navadvip, and have the dust, the devotees will stamp on him, on his head, and he'll get the dust from their feet. So this is just giving us a glimpse into the glory of Lord Chaitanya. And it said, in Kali Yuga, all holy places are extremely weak. Only Navadvip is supremely strong. By the Lord's desire, however, This Tirtha was invisible for a long time, and its glories lay unrevealed. When the influence of Kali Yuga increased, naturally the holy places lost their power. So as Kali Yuga gets stronger, the holy places are kind of losing their effect, and we see it. When we go to some holy places, we see the pollution, we see how people are treating it so badly, and we're seeing that even though it's pure, it's becoming more and more covered by the material energy, except for Navadvipa. And he said that in Kali Yuga, as everything was, all the other holy places were kind of getting more covered, Lord Chaitanya said, when someone has a really strong disease, you go to a doctor, and if the disease is very strong, then the doctor prescribes you an extremely strong medicine. So in Kali Yuga, as everything's getting more and more covered and contaminated, then we need a very strong, the most potent of medicines. And therefore, Lord Chaitanya is revealing Navadvipa now, the strongest holy place in the Kali Yuga that we can experience. And because of the influence of Kali, Navadvipa is shining. It's like a bright diamond on the black backdrop. So Lord Chaitanya said, if I do not reveal the Dham, the name and my form, which I have been holding secretly for so long, how will the living entities ever recover? The living entities are my servants, and I am their Lord. If I do not help them, they will never be delivered. So Lord Chaitanya said, without considering who is fit and who is unfit, in this incarnation, I will freely distribute the treasure of love, which is rarely attained by even Lord Brahma. I will see how Kali can destroy these living entities. I will manifest Navadvipa Dham and break the poison teeth of Kali by performing congregational chanting of the holy names of God. As long as my name is sung, Kali will be controlled. That's Lord Chaitanya. And it said that by Lord Chaitanya's mercy, those 7 holy cities, Ayodhya, Mathura, Haridwar, Kashi, Kanchi, Ujjain, and Dwarka, actually are always present in Navadvipa. They have their own place in Navadvipa. And a person who just visits Navadvipa once is freed from the bondage of Maya. And one who walks through Mayapur is freed from the influence of Maya and the repetition of birth and death. So Navadvipa, I don't know, has anyone been to Navadvipa, Mayapur? A few, okay. So the way it's constructed is, Navadvipa means 9 islands. And it's constructed in the shape of a lotus flower. So it's got a center and 8 petals. Now the islands are the center, and each island is one of the petals on the side. Now the center island is called Andradvipa. And each of these 9 islands actually represent one of the processes of devotional service. So we hear from Srimad Bhagavatam that there's 9 processes of devotional service. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam, which means hearing, chanting, remembering, serving the lotus feet, worshipping the deity, offering prayers, becoming a servant, becoming a friend, and surrendering everything. So each of the islands represents this. And in that island specifically, that is what's emphasized. So in Andradvipa, which is the center of the lotus, that represents the full surrender of everything. And we know from the scripture that the devotee who embodies that is Bali Maharaj, because Lord Vamanadev went to him and asked him to surrender, and he just surrendered everything very easily, something that we would struggle to do. And then there's a second island called Simantadvipa, which represents hearing. And now we know the devotee who embodies hearing is Maharaj Parikshit, when he was hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam being recited. Then there's Godrumadvipa, which represents chanting, or kirtanam. And that's the devotee who embodies that is Sukadeva Goswami, when he was reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam. And then there's the island called Madhyadvipa, which it represents remembering. And the devotee who was remembering, Smaranam, is Prahlad Maharaj, when he was being interrogated by Hiranyakashipu and just hurt and attempted to be killed. All he did was just remember the Lord. And then there's another island called Koladvipa, which represents serving the lotus feet. And that the devotee who does that is Lakshmi Devi. She's always serving Vishnu's feet. And then the next island is Ritudvi, which represents worshipping the deity. And the devotee who did that in Srimad Bhagavatam is Maharaj Prithu. And the next island is Janudvi, and that is representing offering prayers. And we see in Krishna book, the devotee who represents that process of devotion service was Thakura, when he was coming to take Krishna and Balaram to Kamsa. Thakura was just offering prayers upon prayers upon prayers, and his prayers are very beautiful. And then there's Navadvipa, which represents becoming a servant. And that devotee who embodies that is Hanuman. And then there's the last island is Rudradvi, which represents becoming a friend of the Lord. And we know from Bhagavad Gita that one of the greatest friends of Krishna is Arjuna. So that's a devotee who embodies it. So all of these islands represent these 9 processes. And there's a few special hidden pastimes that we didn't know about from our famous pastimes that we hear about. Like, we all know the story of when Brahma stole the cowherd boys from Krishna, right? We've read about that in Krishna book. And what we didn't know is that actually, when Brahma felt guilty after he realized that, Krishna is superior to him. First, he stole Krishna's cowherd boys, and then Krishna manifested cowherd boys to replace the ones that were stolen. And then Brahma was confused, he was totally bewildered. He said, how can they be other cowherd boys? They've just stolen them. And then he realized, like, Krishna's supreme. He messed with the wrong person. So he felt guilty after that. And he actually went to Navadvipa. He went to Navadvipa, to Antradvipa, and he performed austerities there because he felt guilty. And then Lord Chaitanya appeared to him and asked him to be his associate when he advanced many years later. And Lord Brahma said, no, I don't want to. What if I get bewildered again? What if I'm in illusion again and I'm so full with pride that I can't see your glories? And then Lord Chaitanya said, don't worry. You will be Haridas Thakur, someone that is so humble, that's born in a Muslim family and therefore is not accepted really in the Vaishnava community, but who is such a great devotee that he always remains humble due to his birth, and he has no pride. So Lord Brahma actually took birth as Haridas Thakur. And so that's one pastime. And then there's another pastime of Prithu Maharaj. So we hear in Srimad Bhagavatam that first there was the Maharaj Anga, who was the saintly king, and then he had a sinful son, Vena, and he tried to reform his son, but the son just refused. I think parents know what that's like when you have a naughty child, but Vena was awful. And then Maharaj Anga eventually renounced it. He couldn't tame his child, so he went to the forest, and then there was no king. So then Vena became king, the sinful king. The sinful son became king. And then the citizens didn't know what was worse, having no king or having a bad king. Because when they had no king, the rogues and thieves were flourishing and the society was completely destroyed. But then when they had Vena as the king, the rogues and thieves were actually so scared of Vena that they disappeared. But then Vena himself was like a big rogue and thief and destroying the society. And I think we have some experience of that in different places in the world. So then eventually the Brahmana stepped in and they basically killed Vena. This is an emergency situation when the Brahmanas have to do something seemingly violent. But they're usually peaceful, but they had to because someone had to stop Vena. And then from his body, they churned and Prithu Maharaj came out so that they could continue the lineage. So Prithu Maharaj is a saintly king, completely in the mode of goodness. And due to the sins of King Vena, the earth had stopped producing all the minerals and all the agriculture that we need to survive. When the earth is abused, the earth withholds its abundance. So the earth wasn't giving all the natural resources that the society needs. So Prithu Maharaj was leveling all the places on earth. And it said that in order to make the earth now produce what we need. And it said that Prithu Maharaj also went to Navadvipa. And he was leveling the places. And when he was in Navadvipa, a great effulgence came out. And then he understood this is Navadvipa, it's a very sacred place. So he created a kund there called Prithu Kund. So that's how the link is there with Prithu Maharaj and Navadvipa. And then there's a beautiful story from Satya Yuga of Lord Shiva. He was dancing ecstatically and madly calling out, Gauranga, Gauranga. And Parvati inquired, who is Gauranga? This name is making my heart melt. I don't want to be in the material world anymore. Tell me, is Gauranga going to give me real life? And then Lord Shiva explained who Gauranga is. That Lord Gauranga, Lord Chaitanya, is the combined form of Radha and Krishna, who is going to advent in Navadvipa in the future. And Lord Shiva said that he just by remembering that Lord Chaitanya is going to come, he's got love of God and he's unable to control himself. He says, I'm giving up my place in Kashi and I have to go and live in Mayapur and just worship Gauranga. So then Parvati went to Navadvipa. She went to Simantadip, one of the islands. And she started worshipping Gauranga and chanting his name, meditating on his form. And eventually Gauranga appeared to her. And she explained to Gauranga that, I feel cheated because Krishna has appointed me to bind the living entities in material existence. That's what Parvati does. Because she's like the personality of material nature, Durga Devi. And therefore she's serving Krishna by binding everyone in material nature. But she feels cheated because she says now she is missing out on the pastimes of the Lord. Because it says wherever Maya is there, Krishna is not. Wherever there is Krishna, Maya cannot be there. And if she's Maya, that means she won't get the association of Krishna. Wherever there is Krishna, Maya cannot be there. So then, she's saying she's feeling cheated because now she's not going to get the Lord's association. She's not going to get prema, and she'll never see his pastimes. And then she took the dust of Gauranga and she put it on the path in her head, as Samanta. That's how the name Simantadip came about. She put it in her path. And there's a beautiful deity there of Lord Chaitanya and Simantini Devi. You can see if you go to Mayapur and if you go to Jagannath Temple, at the back of Jagannath Temple there's the deity of Lord Chaitanya and Parvati. And the story is actually written on the walls. It's like engraved on the walls around that little temple they have, the little altar. So at hearing this, Lord Chaitanya was pleased and he said, O Supreme Goddess, listen carefully to my words. You are my energy. You are not separate or different from me. My one energy has two forms. Within the spiritual kingdom, my original energy has one form as Srila. But for carrying out activities in the material world, she has expanded herself as you. Without you, my lila could not be accomplished. For in the form of Yoga Maya, you are necessary in my pastimes. In Braj, you are eternally present as Purnamasi, and in Navadvipa, you are present as Prodamaya along with Shvetapal Shiva, the guardian of the Dham. So, this is how Lord Chaitanya reconciled the feeling that she's separate from him, that she's not actually separate, because the one form of Parvati is Srimati Radharani in the spiritual world. But in the material world, she's manifested as Parvati to bind everyone. And Lord Chaitanya is saying, actually my Leela cannot continue without you, because just as there is Mahamaya here, there's Yoga Maya in the spiritual world. And Yoga Maya is arranging all the Lord's pastimes. So that also happened in Navadvipa, this conversation. And then there's another pastime of the Chand Kazi. Does anyone know this pastime of the Chand Kazi? No. Maybe a few. Anyway, I'll just tell it because it's always nice to hear even if we don't. So the Chand Kazi was actually working for the Nawab Hussain Shah, who is Muslim, and therefore he was a verse to the chanting of the holy names when Lord Chaitanya was present. Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan parties used to go out and distribute the holy name, but the Chandkazi will try and stop them. So at one point, the Chandkazi came in, took the mridanga and broke the mridanga, which we know as a great offense because mridanga is the manifestation of Balaram, so it's a sacred object. And so when the Chandkazi did this, what happened is Lord Nishingadev appeared in his dream and frightened him. Lord Nishingadev scratched his chest in the dream, and he was so fierce, and he threatened the Chandkazi not to do this. And after that, the Chandkazi was so fearful, and when he woke up, he saw actual lines on his chest. And that's what made him realize that this dream is real, Lord Nishingadev is real, and he cannot stop the Sankirtan movement. So then after that, the Qazi came and said, he's never going to stop the Sankirtan movement. Now, for all of his descendants, nobody is going to stop. So even though they're Muslim, they're not stopping the Sankirtan movement. So in that way, the Chandkazi actually became a devotee. So it said that the way we know Krishna's pastimes, we all know Kamsa. So it says that Kamsa is actually the Chandkazi. Kamsa appeared in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes as the Chandkazi. And the Nawab Hussain Shah is actually the Jarasandha from Lord Chaitanya's pastime, from Lord Krishna's pastime. So it's all related. But the difference is, when Krishna killed Kamsa, we know that Kamsa got liberated into the effulgence of Krishna. But Chandkazi, by being delivered by Lord Chaitanya, got pure love of Godhead. He became a devotee. So that's why Lord Chaitanya is so merciful. He's so much more merciful than even Krishna, that even the ones who are committing the greatest offenses can become pure devotees. It said, Gauranga's pastimes are considered the highest. Gauranga's abode, name, form, and qualities do not consider offense. Rather, they expertly deliver one from any offense. If the devotee has some offense in his heart, then Krishna's name and abode will deliver him only after a long time. But Gauranga's name and abode immediately bestow prema on the devotee, for offenses create no obstacle and are easily overcome. So that is the superiority of Navadvipa and Lord Chaitanya's pastime. That what you would receive in Krishna Lila and merging into the effulgence, you now get pure love of God, the same person. It's even said the fruit attained by living in Kurukshetra for 100 years is obtained by residing in Navadvipa for one night. Kurukshetra, where the battle of Kurukshetra happened, the Bhagavad Gita was spoken. And then there's another place in Navadvipa called the Panchaveni. It's where 5 sacred rivers all come together. So it's got they all join the Ganges. The Bhagirathi, Mandakini, Alakananda, Saraswati, Yamuna, Bhogavati, Manasaganga, they all come together. This place is actually called Mahaprayag because it's even greater than Prayag, the place where Kumbh Mela happens. There's Kumbh Mela happening, and then after many, many years there's Mahakumbh Mela. That's at Prayag. But this is Mahaprayag. In Navadvipa Dhama you find Mahaprayag, which is even more auspicious than Prayag itself, where the rishis are performing millions of sacrifices, even with Brahma. It said the glories of this place are incomparable. If one takes birth here, he will not take another birth. Who can describe the glories of this place? All other tirthas become like dried up rivers in comparison. One who leaves his body here on the earth, in the air, or in the water will attain Sri Goloka Vrindavan. And now, in another island, there is an island called Navadvipa. And this is actually Ayodhya. So, you know how we were saying that all the holy places have a place in Mayapur that represent them. So Navadvipa is Ayodhya. And It is a beautiful story how in a previous kalpa, when Lord Ram was banished to the forest, he and Lakshman and Sita, they came to this Moladru Mandir. And he built a hut and they were there. And then they saw the effulgence of Navadvipa. So then, Lord Ram told Sita the story. He said, listen Sita, here is a very secret story. When the glorious age of Kali advents, I will display a yellowish complexion form here in Nadia, that's Navadvipa. I will take birth in the womb of Sachi in Jagannath Mishra's house. I will give all the fortunate souls who see my childhood pastimes the supreme gift of prema, that's love of God. At that time, I will enjoy my beloved educational pastimes and reveal the glories of the holy name. I will then take sannyas and go to Puri, and my own mother will weep with my wife in her arms. Hearing this, Sita said, "O lotus-eyed one, why will you make your mother cry? Why will you give up your wife and take sannyas? What happiness is there in giving sorrow to your wife?" Because Sita knows if he is coming as Lord Chaitanya, she's going to come as his wife. But he's saying he's going to give up his wife and take sannyas. To this, Lord Chaitanya replied that actually the highest love is in separation. It's even higher than in union, when you're together. The intensity of that love when you separated from someone is much greater than when you're right there with them. And I think we all have some limited experience of this when we are far away from our loved ones, when we lose a loved one, when someone in our family leaves their body. We know that the love we have for them is so strong in that separation but when they were there, we were just kind of normal. You know, we love them, but it's normal. So that's just our little material glimpse of what they're talking about. But he's saying that the highest love, the greatest, most intense love, is shown through separation. And he said that Kaushalya will take birth as Sachi Devi, the mother of Lord Chaitanya, and Sita will take birth as Vishnupriya. And he even said that after he takes sannyas, Vishnupriya will sustain herself by worshipping a deity of Gauranga in separation. And that deity is right there, still now, in Navadvipa. In an island called Koladvipa, there's this deity called Dameshwar Mahaprabhu that that Vishnupriya worshipped. Lord Chaitanya's wife worshipped in the separation of Lord Chaitanya. And he said that Koladvipa, that island, is actually Giri Govardhan. That's the sacred place. Govardhan is Koladvipa. So, at the end, closer to the end of this book, Navadvipa Mahatmya, Srila Jiva Goswami asks Lord Nityananda, if Navadvipa is so great, what's the point going to Vrindavan? You know, if Navadvipa and Vrindavan are basically the same, what's the point going to Vrindavan? Because he was going to Vrindavan after, and he said, why should I even go if everything is here at Navadvipa? And Lord Nityananda explained very clearly that Navadvipa and Vrindavan are one principle. One is neither less than nor greater than the other. So in Vrindavan, we were saying that the mood is rasa, that mellow, that loving experience. But the truth is that, and that's the goal, we all want to experience that loving relationship with Krishna, pure love. But the truth is that not everyone is actually qualified for that nectar. So even though that dham is there, if we go there, we won't really be able to relish it if we're not qualified. So that same dham has mercifully become Navadvipa. And the mood in Navadvipa is Audarya, it's magnanimity, munificence, like mercy. And that in that dham, Navadvipa, the living entities can then attain the qualification to go to Vrindavan. So even though Radha's and Krishna's pastimes are the highest, and that's manifest in Vrindavan, not everyone has the right to access them. And that's why even after doing so many lifetimes of austerity, still we may not even know about it, we may not even be qualified to go. And that's why Navadvipa is so special to us, because it gives us that qualification. And then when we go to Navadvipa and qualify ourselves, We can worship Radha and Krishna right there. You don't have to separately go to Vrindavan, but it gives you that qualification to be able to access Vrindavan, access the rasa. It said that in this terrible age of Kali, offenses are continuous, the body is short-lived, and there are many troubles. So even if one wants Vrindavan rasa, it is not attainable. It's due to our offenses that we can't actually relish that rasa of Vrindavan. And therefore, the only method to get it is by the mercy of Krishna. And Radha and Krishna are giving that mercy in the form of Lord Chaitanya and Navadvipa. They're giving that mercy for everyone to be able to access the highest place, Goloka Vrindavan. So it says, if one lives in Navadvipa and takes shelter of the holy name, his offenses will be destroyed, and the qualification of the rasa will appear. Love of Krishna will soon shine within his heart, and topics of Radha and Krishna will prevail. In this way, by achieving Gauranga's mercy, the living entity attains Vrindavan, the holy abode of Radha and Krishna's nectarian pastime. So to end, I will read a prayer that's actually written. It's called Sriman Navadvipa Vandana. It's a prayer in glorification. It's 20 verses glorifying Navadvipa. The Shruti, I'll just read the English because the Sanskrit is a bit long. The Shruti, known as Chandogya, calls it the city of the Supreme Absolute. The Smriti calls it Vaikuntha, the abode of Lord Vishnu. Others know it as the White Island. The rare relishes of Rasa call it the forest of Raj. I bow here to Navadvipa, the abode of supreme joy. In one of its regions, Brahma, constantly repenting for his misbehavior caused by bewilderment, worshipped Gaura, the ocean of mercy. The Lord then fulfilled the deepest desire in Brahma's heart. I bow here to Navadvipa, the abode of supreme joy. In one of its regions, Bhagavati, the golden-complexioned daughter of the Himalayas, the mother of the universe, beheld the unparalleled form of the object of her worship, the son of Sachi. She then placed the dust of the Lord's feet upon the parting in her hair. I bow here to Navadvipa, the abode of supreme joy. In one of its regions, the wielder of the thunderbolt, Lord Indra, remorseful for his impudence, took shelter of beautiful Surabhi, lovingly worshipped the feet of the Lord beside a tree, and attained a most auspicious boon from Gaura himself. I bow here to Navadvipa, the abode of supreme joy. In one of its regions, his heart attracted by their service, Gaura appeared to the 7 sages at noon and, bestowed upon them a pleasing boon at the perfect time. I bow here to Navadvipa, the abode of supreme joy. In one of its regions, a Brahmana chief who longed for Pushkar Tirtha, but because of his old age lacked the ability to make the pilgrimage there, saw the supremely auspicious Pushkar Tirtha before him. I bow here to Navadvipa, the abode of supreme joy. In one of its regions, the Lord of Sacrifice, who bears the dazzling form of a boar, his heart was drawn by the power of his devotee's service, affectionately bestowed upon his devotee the purest thing in the 3 worlds, love for Sri Gauranga. I bow here to Navadvipa, the abode of supreme joy. In one of its regions, the king of the seasons, checking his own power, worshipped Sri Chaitanya, who, along with his associates, was dancing in a grove whose creepers and shrubs, laden with fruits and flowers, bowed to him. I bow here to Navadvipa, the abode of supreme joy. In one of its regions, Janu Muni, upon seeing the Ganga's glistening waters approaching during his worship, drank her distracting waves. He then released her again as his daughter because of the devotion of King Bhagirath. I bow here to Navadvipa, the abode of supreme joy. In one of its regions, in the Treta Yuga of the previous era, the son of Dasarath, the wealth of the sages, Rama, with his other half, Sita and Lakshmana, resided for a few days on the bank of the Ganga beneath a pleasure tree. I bow here to Navadvipa, the abode of supreme joy. In one of its regions, the sage Narada directly beheld the greatest of gods, Narayan, who is supremely worshipable to all, and then saw the Supreme Lord in his golden form. I bow here to Navadvipa, the abode of supreme joy. In one of his regions, by the grace of Gaura, the Lord's friend Arjuna, served by Draupadi and accompanied by his brothers, resided for a few days in a large auspicious forest that is worshipped by hosts of sages. I bow here to Navadvipa, the abode of supreme joy. In one of its regions, Rudra, lost in divine love, gently dances with his associates, enlivened by the sound of tamarus. Oh, how he continuously sings about Vishvambar in this place! I bow here to Navadvipa, the abode of supreme joy. An abundance of holy places, surrounded by water, shine eternally throughout this land. Attended by Shiva, Brahma, and all the other gods, these places destroy all sin and are worshipable to all the sages. I bow here to Navadvipa, the abode of supreme joy. Here, Prodamaya, the Lord's warden, along with her husband, deceives the enemies of the Vaishnavas by giving them material happiness and bewilders those who are blinded by pride in their futile study of the scriptures. I bow here to Navadvipa, the abode of supreme joy. Here, Kali, the wife of Shambhu and destroyer of the demons, sincerely protects the devotees of the Lord out of affection for them. Lost in divine love, she eternally worships Gaura in ecstasy. I bow here to Navadvipa, the abode of supreme joy. Saraswati, the goddess of speech, whose heart is given to the service of the Lord's feet, eternally resides on the bank of the Ganga in this land and personally bestows upon the Brahmanas knowledge of all the scriptures on conduct and other subjects. I bow here to Navadvipa, the abode of supreme joy. Adorned with the luster of Sri Radha, the Lord appeared here from the womb of Sri Sachi. Intent on purging the filth of Kali, he engaged in supremely purifying chanting of the name, accompanied by his associates. I bow here to Navadvipa, the abode of supreme joy. Oh, here some devotees expert in the service of the Lord directly see with their own eyes Sri Gauranga dancing amidst his associates and their wives in this supremely beautiful city. I bow here to Navadvipa, the abode of supreme joy. One who resides in Navadvipa without duplicity and recites this prayer with devotion at the time of worshipping the Lord genuinely attains the supremely delightful joy of love for the Lord, the embodiment of spiritual ecstasy, the son of Sachi, who is Krishna himself. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you. If there's any comments or questions or any kind of discussion, please speak. Any questions?
You said, okay, Mayapur is made up of islands. You know, which island is that?
Oh, that's good. It's on Andhra, the center island. Yeah.
And then how do you go? They said you can't go there by train or car.
You cannot fly there by plane. No, you go by entering with consciousness. No, but you mean practically, yeah. Like how do you get, okay. So, there is a boat ride. There's also, you can also go there by car from the airport.
Have you been?
Yeah. Yeah. They also have a boat ride now. Like if you fly into Kolkata airport, that's the closest airport. And then you can either take a car or there's now a boat service that goes. I haven't tried the boat service, but seems like that would be nice.
Mayapur is on the east coast, east, northeast.
North of Calcutta.
Yeah.
It's about 3.5 hours north of Calcutta.
3.5 hours. Yeah. If anybody wants to go, let me know. I'm planning a parigram. Well, I am going and taking a group in 2 weeks. That's very short notice. But in 2 weeks I'm taking a small group. But if I was thinking we should have this like regularly, like every year, we should have like a group going. So if anyone's eager, maybe end of the year, like November, December. I don't know.
As well.
I mean, I personally might not, but others will. Others can. Vrindavan is beyond me right now. Any questions or comments? If not, we can end here. Thank you so much. And after this, I think we'll have some kirtan because it ended a little bit early. We can have like maybe 10 minutes of kirtan, and then there's Guru Puja, and then there's Prasadam downstairs. Hare Krishna.